Hello and welcome to the Jamf After Dark podcast. Annie had to take a space flight with Jeff Bezos. I'm not sure how much she paid for it, so she couldn't join us. Regrettably, it'll just be me as the host today. And we have a wonderful guest, Mike Scafide. Say hi, Mike.
Hi, Mike. Just kidding. Hi, everybody.
She made so much fun of me. Since she's not here, I'll make fun of myself for saying hi, Charles, once. And yeah. So smaller companies are often really good at hearing feedback from customers. When we first start a company, it's really easy to talk to all the customers because we might have 3 to 5 customers. And I can still remember texting or emailing Zach when I need something back before I worked at Jamf when I was just a customer. So as an organization grows, our attention gets pulled into a lot of different places, and yet we still want to delight our customers. So we want to build what they need. And one way of doing that is to hire a lot of people that have sat in the chair and are domain experts. And yet we need to scale specific disciplines in order to scale an organization. And as we carve out specific teams to laser focus on customers, we end up with people with titles like the manager of feedback programs at Jamf, which is what Mike does. So thanks for joining us, Mike.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
And I'm a sucker for origin stories, and I think I only ever knew you as a Jamf. So how did you get into this kind of niche of the IT industry?
That is a great question. To make a very long story short, I moved to Eau Claire to go to college, and a friend of mine from Wausau came to Eau Claire the following year to go to college here. And we both graduated in the Great Recession, so we had these degrees and nothing to do with them. So I was bartending on Water Street next to a bar known as the GI, which is one of the local Jamf watering holes. And my friend was bartending down at Clancy's, which was in downtown Eau Claire and is basically the other Jamf bar, sort of air quotes. So one night he comes in, and we've been friends for a long time, and we sort of tease and harass each other and stuff. And he comes in and he asks me, hey, don't you have a Mac at home? And, I told him, yeah, I've got a 27-inch iMac. It's literally the only thing I have of any value right now, including my college degree. And he goes, well, I just got an internship at this software company downtown, and they make Apple software. And I basically just told him, stop. I don't need you to pull my chain here. I know this is made up. There's no such thing as an Apple software company in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, of all places. And he goes, no, I'm an intern. I'm at Jamf. And I basically tell him to just leave. I just, leave my bar. Who names a company Jamf? You could at least come up with a good name if you're going to try to fool me into applying at some company that doesn't exist. And B, there's no way that there's an Apple software company in town. A couple months later, he stops by again. He goes, hey, did you apply? And I said, no, at your fake software company, why would I even go Googling for that? So he pulls out his iPhone, which he has now because he's been working at Jamf for a couple months. And he pulls up the website, and I basically sort of my jaw hits the floor. I can't believe there's an Apple software company in Eau Claire and their name is Jamf. What's a Jamf? But I get hired. I work in support for 5 or so years. And then I applied for a position to lead the internal SME program, the subject matter experts. And while I did not get that job, they moved forward a position to basically have somebody in a more formal capacity running the beta program. And when I came on board, basically one of the first things I did was I pivoted all of my attention instead to making a release candidate program. And from there, the rest is sort of history, for the short history of how long I've been at Jamf and doing this kind of stuff in my role.
Yeah, which you were here before I was, so it's not that short a history, I don't think.
I'm coming up on 10 years pretty soon. This is the only place I haven't been burned out besides working at the bar, just with corporate structure, any number of reasons I can find to sort of hate where I work, and that's not happened here yet.
Love it. I love that story. It's a great arc. And I guess as the manager of product feedback programs, how would you describe the product feedback programs here?
I'm extremely passionate for our customers first and foremost before anything, even Jamf. Just want to make sure our customers are always happy in a good spot. So primarily how I would describe our feedback programs is they're a growing collection of programs focused either on releases like Jamf Pro, Jamf Now, Jamf Connect, or it might be in the future focused on apps like a new app for our healthcare team or Jamf Parent, any number of apps that we might have coming out down the line. We are sort of standardizing all of those programs, putting them all under my umbrella. And the primary focus really of those programs is making sure that we excite and delight our customers. And we find out primarily if we're doing that the right way, if we're building our software the right way, by putting out alphas and betas and stuff and collecting feedback directly from them. And we try to do it in a quasi-public setting. So we use forums so that we make sure that we can collect feedback of like, I didn't think of that, but I +1 for me too. I'm also experiencing that, or I also want that. We'd really try to make it open to everybody, and we want to make sure that we encourage open, honest feedback. We don't want to hear everything is great if it's not great. We want to make sure that we hear that the experience is not going the way you expect it to for an application.
Got it. I guess you kind of mostly answered this, but I was going to ask next if the feedback programs cover all the products. So you mentioned apps, you mentioned Jamf Pro, you mentioned the parent app. I guess everything's kind of included in there?
Yeah, right now, since we were sort of a monolithic company for a very long time with Jamf Pro, we have very strong and standardized programs for Jamf Pro, specifically for the Jamf Pro Beta program and the Jamf Pro RC program. We recently expanded that to Jamf Connect, and in the interim, our customers will be seeing some new exciting stuff coming soon. And when that new exciting stuff launches, we will have much more capability to basically, answer a Slack. If you sent me a Slack and said, hey, I want to beta something, I can say, give me 24 hours and I can get that set up and we can start inviting people to participate. So when those changes come on board, we're going to expand our offering to basically any team inside Jamf that has something that they want to collect feedback on. So I'm really excited about that, and that'll be happening later this year.
Is that feedback done through a specific portal? Like it used to be through Jamf Nation, right?
Yes, the big three beta and RC programs we have currently are all on Jamf Nation. And then going forward with some of the new stuff that's coming out later this year, we are going to continue that trend and make sure that the primary area of all feedback for this stuff will be on Jamf Nation or some sort of sub forum for whatever product we're collecting feedback on at the time. We really value open feedback both for other customers to see what other people are seeing or requesting or encountering, as well as our product owners, our product managers, our software engineers, support people. Everyone at Jamf can also see that stuff and have equal visibility into it. So as long as everything is open and transparent, which is our goal, we can sort of accomplish collecting the best feedback that we can get.
You mentioned people jumping in saying me too on this feature. So it does feel like features are the easiest part of feedback. Like I want this tool to do this thing. But what about defects? Are they included in there, like the prioritization of defects?
Yes, we really, really encourage everyone to participate in our beta programs as early as possible. The earlier that we collect feedback, especially if it's a defect, the more opportunity we have to resolve it in a timely manner and hopefully even get it into the release that we are currently in a beta of. The amount of meetings I've been in over the years and Friday nights, Saturdays, Sundays, we definitely do prioritize defects very much, and we've worked lots of long nights and weekends and stuff to make sure that we don't ship anything with any defects that we have captured before we ship it, at least. So we do our best to catch as much as we can before we ship. Coming from the support team into the product team, it sure seemed a lot easier to catch all of those defects and find all of those problems until you see the process and you see the enormous amount of man hours going into automated testing, manual testing, pre-testing, all of this stuff just for it to get out there, go through our 60 RC program customers who mean the world to us, get through all of them, and then somebody, upgrades day one and, hey, this button doesn't do anything. We sit there like, all right, here's a new lesson that we've learned. Software is hard. Software is extremely hard.
Yeah, especially when there's more and more customers. I mean, I feel like I have a lot of friends who maybe write a tool and they end up with 5, 10, 50, 100 organizations using it. And there's this supposition, I even read this in a book once, that you write it once and then it's infinitely scalable, especially SaaS. And that's really not the case. The more iterations of people using your tooling, the more chances that someone puts something in a field that you didn't anticipate or trap for, and there is born yet another defect.
We have like an entire platform where we more or less are like, as long as you accomplish what you're trying to accomplish, like great, that's what we're here for. And it makes testing some of this stuff extraordinarily difficult when you find out somebody's bundling something in a DMG and skipping MDM entirely, or just some random example of completely unexpected ways to solve problems using our software. It's been extremely interesting over the years to see all those different ways that people do things.
The number of times you see somebody that wraps a Python script inside a shell script inside of DMG that's curled down from a Python script, you're like, wait, what is going on here? So I guess, can you describe a specific initiative or two that came out of some of the feedback programs over the years?
Yeah, one of the big ones was the customer asked for a little while of, thanks for the release notes, like they're great and they're descriptive, but you're not providing us context of why this is important or why we should try this. So the last time that we received this feedback before we acted on it was a customer advisory board meeting, and I pulled over our manager, I forget his exact title, but a product management manager, something, and I said, hey, let's record some videos and put them on YouTube and just see what people say. And that was well received, and we've been doing it since. We missed one release, and everyone thankfully let us know, hey, these videos are important. Please continue to give us these videos. So I don't think we'll be missing them again. That's something that we've iterated off of customer feedback. Internally, something that we've done is the Jamf Pro RC program, which basically, for a long time, we would sort of try to find customers that were experiencing defect that we had just fixed. And we would reach out to them and we would say, hey, we're going to ship this software in a week or so. Would you mind giving us a test run in your environment and let us know with 100% confidence that this is fixed, we're good to go. Obviously, that's very, very difficult to convince people to do that, and rightly so. I know one day if I ever become an admin, probably won't be for me either, which is funny, just given my entire focus is on everything pre-release. So we set out to sort of make a program where we give customers free JNUC admission, which has not been that important last year, this year, but will be important again soon. We give free pro services days. We give free elevated support while we're in like the RC period. We basically give like $15,000, $20,000 of free stuff, something like that, in exchange for a customer to take our build in a repeatable standard fashion in Jamf Cloud. And we've been doing that for 3 years now. And we have had one customer leave, and that was because they left their organization and not because they were dissatisfied with our program. So we put an enormous amount of engineering effort and support effort and cloud effort into making sure if we release a build to somebody in the RC program and they encounter a bug, that they're getting 24/7 support. Like their environment is the most crucial environment on the planet for us right now, and we've had really good success with that. So I'm trying not to toot my own horn or pump enrollment into my program, but it's something that we spun up in the last couple of years, which has been extremely successful both for our customers and for Jamf. So I'm really proud of that one.
You know, those are two great examples that don't require new features be built or developers to write much code. They're more logistical, or just talking to a team about how people want to interact, for example, with release notes. And that's fantastic. I guess there is that other side of whether it's prioritizing defects or new features, or people saying, hey, I need this declarative management thing ASAP or what have you. So I guess, how does the feedback flow from the various programs to the people actually writing that code in the tooling?
The easiest way I would probably describe that is our product owners, especially on the pro side, because we have a formal beta program over there. They check the forums religiously, daily, for any feedback about anything that a customer might have provided. We monitor the Slack channels as well, the external ones, such as Mac admins. We really just want to make sure that if somebody's saying, I like this, or I don't like this, or this isn't working, that we capture that as quickly as possible. So How the process goes is if a product owner hasn't checked the forum that day or might be out or something, QAs who also religiously check it. Basically, nobody's caught it except for me or read it except for me on the forum. I put on my Tom Smokowski hat from Office Space, and I take the documents to the engineers because I'm a people person. And we give them the feedback. If a customer wants to engage with us further to show us it in person, or if we want to see it in person, if we need logs, any sorts of things like that. We take the information and everything the customer has given us or everything that we ask for from the customer, and the team will create a ticket on their backlog, and the backlog is just sort of the first place it goes. And then in their next meeting or that day often, they'll talk about the severity of this, whether if somebody doesn't like a button, how easy it would be to fix the button or move it on the screen where it should go.
Or how hard.
Yeah, or hard. Typically hard. It's usually hard.
Right.
And basically just, how to respond to that feedback and set expectations. For example, if it's something that we're working on, but it won't be in this release, to explain how that's going and that sort of stuff. Any number of ways that we can respond to that feedback based on the priority of it, the severity of it, or our engineers really, really, really like hearing that what they made works. So anytime we get feedback on Jamf Nation that this is cool or they like that, our software engineers really, really like knowing that what they did was help somebody today.
Or if it doesn't delight, maybe why. I've sat in plenty of meetings where engineers are like, oh, I see why no one's clicking the button I spent 6 months building.
Yeah.
Let me go fix that real quick. And then all of a sudden it's super useful because a little bit of feedback made it back through the channels. So,
yeah. When you're living in the software for years, what makes sense to you often is not what makes sense to our customers, or is not an optimal workflow is a better way of saying that for them. So it's definitely a dance sometimes of thanks for the feedback. You're completely right. It'll take us 6 months to fix this because you're completely right. So
we have to refactor all of it. No.
So that's me hammering home. The faster you get us the feedback, the faster we can work on it.
I feel like 90% of the meetings I've ever been in that you were there, you were kind of that voice of the customer coming back, explaining something, filtering or funneling that information back. It's cool to see that that's being done slightly more automated these days. It never felt super scalable, while super empathetic. Yes, it always felt like it was putting a lot of pressure on one person to kind of be that voice.
Yeah, so. Yeah. We've been getting a lot better at it.
Nice. I do feel like a lot of the listeners spend a huge part of their day in the product, whether it's making packages, distributing packages, scoping policies, testing policies, a day in the life of a Mac admin or Apple admin, I guess. So what is probably the most impactful way that they can provide their feedback back?
Yeah, bar none. Going on Jamf Nation and posting it, since we're talking in the context of the beta or the RC program, if you're a member of one of those programs, specifically the beta program, throw it on there on the Jamf Nation forum. If you have anything that's confidential for some reason, we also provide an email address of beta@jamf.com that you can communicate to us too. But primarily, first and foremost, always post your feedback in the context of what I do on Jamf Nation. That's visible to everybody internally at Jamf, and that's visible to everybody else that's participating in the beta program. If a bunch of people like your idea or agree, with your premise, that only helps strengthen a cause inside Jamf for working and iterating on whatever's been presented. Just in general, from Jamf, also Jamf Nation. Especially our support teams, that was ingrained in my head. I know our product team goes there, looks every day, post stuff on Jamf Nation. We really, truly try to go out of our way to not interfere in conversations on there or, provide our spin on the feedback provided. We want to make sure that we're not influencing a conversation that's happening on Jamf Nation at all. So that's the best place by a mile to provide us just your general feedback.
Oh, and I do remember when I was first starting at Jamf, that was part of orientation is don't try to take over those conversations, let them happen. We need to hear kind of the unfiltered, unfettered feedback from people. So
yeah, if it looks like we're not listening or if it looks like we're not responding, typically we're allowing the community to really make sure that they are clear in what they want to provide us information on. I really just can't Can't say that enough, that we want the unfiltered feedback. We don't want to tint it or have somebody come to our defense, which we would appreciate, obviously, but we want to make sure that the feedback is true and authentic and sort of unfiltered.
Having said that, feel free to be polite with your feedback.
Yes, please be polite. I can take it, but I definitely don't want any of our software engineers who have been working really hard on something for 6 months to know that they should have done something slightly differently. Like, tell us that in a polite way. That'll be very good for them.
It's crazy how, whether you're putting 50 hours in on a feature for months on end or 60, and then it's okay that it needs to be a little bit different, but it's hard not to internalize that feedback when it's not, not that everybody needs to be super sweet all the time, of course, but just a teeny bit of kindness and empathy, I guess, because it's worth saying phenomenal software developers with 30 years of experience writing code have probably not sat in the same chair as an administrator.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
And again, as you scale up, you need some of those architects and the people who kind of come with different types of knowledge.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of former admins or professional services engineers come and work for Jamf. That just helps internally with the sort of conversations of like, I don't like this either, or I didn't like this. We are very, very good at going through that stuff internally at Jamf. I'm happy every day that I come here.
Sam Johnson used to call it the happy sandwich. Something nice as the two pieces of bread, like, hey, I hope you're having a great summer. Your feature sucks, but thank you so much for building it.
Every piece of feedback I provide to any other software vendor is always a happy sandwich. It's always a happy sandwich, and even no matter how upset I am about it, it's still a very polite, statement of why this isn't working. Here's what I did. Have a great day. It's ingrained in me.
Well, for you, I would hope so. This has been a great conversation, and thank you so much for joining. We do have a bonus question if you have just another minute for that.
I do.
The bonus question is, what was your first Mac?
The first Mac that I know for a fact what its name was, and not some beige box with numbers / more numbers, was a Blueberry iMac, and I still remember how it smelled when I pulled open the box and pulled it out. Like, I was so incredibly amped to receive that machine that was sort of changing of my life for the better. That's when I first really got into technology. That's when I first understood what a hard drive was and what RAM was, when I had to explain why 32 megs of RAM was not enough for me to play Diablo 2 with my friends on Battle.net. Trying to explain RAM to people. Yeah. Trying to explain RAM to people, to my parents, was very difficult. It took a while. So I started learning more and more about computers. I spent more on a mirrored drive door G4 for myself in high school than I did my first 2 cars combined. So that's, yeah. So I've been in the Apple ecosystem for a very, very long time now.
And now you can get a blue iMac again if you want.
Yeah.
I love that they brought that back. It's just an homage to an amazing time, and also not just an homage, but a useful computer, especially in the era of home automation. There are things like Homebridge or stuff like that you might want to run on a desktop in the house. I feel like a lot of homes got away from having desktops for a hot minute, but there are definitely reasons to bring it back. So
I have no legitimate reason for needing an iMac right now, but I also am in a constant state of justifying it. Like, here will be my stationary iMac that I'll do all my Zoom calls on because of the good camera and all that other stuff, and any number of justifications for a device I really don't need, but still want.
Yeah, I make those justifications all the time. That might be why I have so many hundreds of computers around the house. Speaking of which, I need to come pick one up from your garage.
Yes, that's right. I think we'll be in Minneapolis soon, and so I'll drop off that G4 Cube for you when we're out there next.
Yeah, I think the cube, whether the next cube, which I have one of, or the G4 cube, is a super important piece of computer history. So amazing machines to boot. But anyways, well, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you back, as an example, if you have additional programs getting released that you'd like to come on and talk about and socialize that information. I find some of these things can be tribal in nature. Like you have to be part of the tribe to know that something exists or to kind of connect with it. And it's nice to socialize in as many outlets as possible to kind of detribalize some of that. So,
yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely be back.
Feel free to reach out whenever. So thank you all so much for tuning in and listening. We're so lucky to have you as listeners, as customers, as co-workers. Have a wonderful rest of the summer, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.